So we've got former Fairfield coach Andy Copelan joining us now as part of this watch party. Coach, we appreciate you taking some time, taking you back a little bit, trip down memory lane with during your Fairfield days, all right?
That sounds great. Well, thanks for having me. Good to see you again, Trev.
Yeah. So one of the games that we're coming out of here is honestly one of my favorite games you've had because it was just wild. You guys against Utah from back in 2019. It was a Friday night. And I don't know if I had many expectations going in, but this game just exceeded everything in terms of the goals and the momentum swings. When you think back on that game, what do you remember?
Well, you just mentioned it. I think the first thing I remember is kind of the Friday night lights environment. Fairfield, typically always, drew well and continues to draw well. I remember the Utah faithful came out for that one for sure. So the fan base, just the energy behind that whole game was awesome. Certainly remember, I think the final score was 10-9, but I know it was an overtime victory. So kind of those overtime games, maybe, they're kind of memorialized a little bit more than just, a typical other game. But boy, I remember the good guys came out on top there. I think Dylan Beckwith played quite well. I remember both goalies really stood on their head. I remember Utah's guy, the lefty from Yorktown, Donnelly, I think was his last name.
Yeah.
And I remember he played awesome. And then I remember Travis Ford scoring the game winner there. But that was a fun game to be part of for sure.
Yeah, you mentioned your goalie. It was James Corsiniti. Not only did he have a great game in the cage, he ended up with the assist on a game-tying goal. I have to think that was rare for you. How many goalie assists have you seen throughout your career?
Not many. I think if memory serves me right, I think both teams kind of struggled in the clearing game a little bit. So I think it was more so just a byproduct of that, just kind of throwing a 60-yard bomb to Beckwith. And, for anybody who knows Dylan, he's a pretty special athlete. So I just think he kind of won a foot race and got to the ball first and scored the game-tying goal. And I think he had another goal, maybe in the riding game, created a turnover, got a quick restart, outran everybody again, scored kind of a crazy one-handed goal. But yeah, Dylan and Corso certainly were a huge part of the Stags getting a win on that night.
Yeah, for sure. You took the words right out of my mouth because Dylan Beckwith made that play late. Just before that, in the fourth, he makes causes the turnover at midfield, picks it up, just goes right in and does the one-handed dunk. Dylan throughout his career, because one of the other games we're going to talk about was from back in 2017. I forgot that was just his freshman year. What was he like as a player to coach? Because he seemed to have a pretty important role in a bunch of the teams for you, and even once you left there in finishing his career.
Yeah, Dylan's awesome. He might have been, kind of in my 11 years at Fairfield, he's arguably the best athlete I ever coached. He's really fast. He's a tenacious competitor, played a little bit of attack, a little bit of midfield. But, I remember in pretty much any crunch time situation, you felt like you had to get Dylan a touch and just try to get the ball in his stick. And, more good things happen than bad for sure.
Throughout your Fairfield career, did you have a favorite game?
It has to be when we were in the ECAC and we went out to Denver. And at the time, Denver was ranked number 1 in the nation. And we were able to get, I think that was another overtime win with Sam Snow scoring the game winner. But look, you beat the number 1 team in the country at the time. That's a pretty cool, special one. So I'll certainly remember that one forever.
Yeah, I will say, sometimes I feel like some wins can kind of blend together, but those special ones, like when you beat a number 1 or win a championship, those I feel like always kind of stand out above the rest.
Yeah, without a doubt. I think there's that one. I don't want to call it a rivalry with Yale, but I think for 4 consecutive games, it was a 1-goal game, and we were on the losing side of 3 of those. But the one that we won was another game at Fairfield University. I think it was another, I don't know if it was overtime or if we scored right at the end of regulation, but I think it was Eric Warden scoring the game winner. And that's another one. It was a beautiful day, spring setting at Fairfield University, ton of people at the game. And that was a fun one to take part in there as well.
You mentioned playing there at Fairfield, and I mean Rafferty Stadium. The second I went there and did a game on a nice spring day, I'm like, I get this. Like you get the kids, the college students coming down on the hill, and they can watch over the stadium. You get the kids coming out from Fairfield, from all the surrounding communities out there. Like it just feels like a perfect spot. We've seen the PLL go there. You've had a chance to coach there now since you've left Fairfield. What is it about Rafferty Stadium that just makes it such a great lacrosse environment?
It's the best. And I remember talking, with the Rafferty family, pretty intimately when we were kind of going through that whole kind of fundraising process and trying to upgrade that facility. And I mean, Fairfield University it's an awesome place with awesome people, and they're really passionate about their sports there. And, just felt like it was time to kind of improve that facility. But I guess what makes it special is that, it's a pretty intimate size. So it's not too big. I think you can fill it up, you can sell it out. You certainly experience that with, some Fairfield games, and then certainly with the PLL there this summer. It's lacrosse lines only, or lacrosse lines primary, I should say, which I think, just visually on TV, I think it looks great. And yeah, it was cool to kind of, be around during kind of that overhaul, and then just to kind of experience it firsthand. And, a pretty cool full circle moment for me, again, this summer with the PLL going back to Fairfield. And I remember when those conversations started going down and they wanted to try to go ahead and find a footprint in the tri-state. And, I was able to kind of connect some front office folks with the PLL with some, I think it was Zach Dayton, who's the deputy athletic director at Fairfield, and a buddy of mine, and just an all around great dude. And to kind of see that whole thing materialize. And, speaking of overtime games, the Water Dogs actually won an overtime game there this summer against the Chrome. So kind of familiar territory, but an awful lot of fun to be back for sure.
Yeah, it just had to work out that way. It couldn't be an easy win. It had to be dramatic just to make you feel right back at home.
Of course. And the fellow who scored the game tying and game winning goal that day is a young man named Connor Kelly, who played lacrosse at Fairfield Prep, and is kind of a local Fairfield County, guy who I've known forever. And yeah, just it's the lacrosse is funny. I mean, it's not even a 6 degree of separation thing. It's like a 2 degree of separation thing. But all these worlds have kind of found a very fun way of kind of intertwining themselves. But yeah, just a lot of great memories, certainly of Fairfield University, and being in that locker room around, some really, really awesome guys throughout my tenure there.
For sure. So the last game as part of this watch party, and the game we're going to send people to right after this, a game from 2017, final game of the year for you guys against Delaware. And I was looking back at that 2017 team, and I mean, you guys had some ups and downs and really had some chances to do some stuff. You lost a 1-goal game against a top 5 Penn State team on the road. You beat a ranked Towson team late in the year. What do you remember about that team and kind of some of the ups and downs that you guys rode?
Yeah, exactly what you just said. I remember it being a little bit of a roller coaster season. I remember, I think we started CAA play 0-3. So I think we'd actually played ourselves out of making the conference tournament.
Yeah.
So that was the negative. I think kind of the silver lining was we were able to go into those last 2 regular season games just, kind of a little bit maybe more relaxed, and you end up beating the Towson team who made an incredible run. And then you end up beating the Delaware team kind of in that last regular season game. And, you and I both know, probably 98% of the time, regardless of how your season plays out, it usually ends in a loss. And that's kind of what I remember about the kind of end of that season was you just ended with a win. So while you weren't able to advance your season into the postseason, you at least felt like you played some pretty decent ball there down the stretch. And, winning it with the Water Dogs this summer was just another time where you're the last team standing, and kind of going into the off season with, a taste of that last game being a win. It makes for a much more pleasant off season. That's for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. You guys also in that game spoiled Bob Schillinglaw's final game as head coach at Delaware. They'd mentioned this on the broadcast. One of your first games coaching at Fairfield was against Delaware and Schillinglaw, and it kind of came full circle for you. What was it like to go against him throughout your time at Fairfield?
Shills is the best. I mean, that guy belongs on the Mount Rushmore. He's just a great coach and a great just person, human being. And you obviously see what he did during his tenure with that Delaware program. And he left it in great hands to Ben DeLuca, who obviously has taken the reins there and done a remarkable job himself. So you saw Delaware make a quarterfinal appearance last year, and I think they return, most of their roster. So have to imagine when it comes to CAA play, they're at least going into this thing the team to beat. But we all know how the CAA conference goes. It's old school. It's a tough conference. It was a really fun conference to take part in. And yeah, nothing but respect for, Commissioner D'Antonio and his crew and everything that those guys are doing. It's an awesome conference for sure.
Well, we'll take people back to one of those conference games from 2017 from your time there at Fairfield. Coach, we appreciate the time as always. It was fun looking back with you.
Yeah, appreciate you having me on. This is always a lot of fun. And like I said, great memories from Fairfield. I'll always be a fan of that place. So go Stags, and appreciate everything you continue to do for the sport here, Trevs.
Awesome. Thanks, Andy.
Sure thing.